The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, Section 4, The Soul and God. Lecture delivered in San Francisco, March 23rd, 1900. Whether it was fear or mere inquisitiveness which first led man to think of powers superior to himself, we need not discuss. This raised in the mind peculiar worship tendencies and so on. There never have been time in the history of mankind without some ideal of worship. Why? What makes us all struggle for something beyond what we see, whether it is beautiful morning or a fear of a dead spirit? We need not go back into prehistorical times, for it is a fact present today as it was 2000 years ago. We do not find satisfaction here, whatever our station in life. Even if we are powerful and wealthy, we cannot find satisfaction. Desire is infinite. Its fulfillment is very limited. There is no end to our desires, but when we go to fulfill them, the difficulty comes. It has been so with the most primitive minds. What their desires were few. Even this could accomplish, even this could not be accomplished. Now, with our arts and science improved and multiplied, our desire cannot be fulfilled either. On the other hand, we are struggling to perfect means for the fulfillment of the desires, and the desires are increasing. The most primitive man naturally wanted help from outside for things which he could not accomplish. He desired something, the end it could not be obtained. Two, it could not be obtained. He wanted help from other powers. The most ignorant and primitive man and the most cultivated man today, each appealing to God and asking for fulfillment of some desire, are exactly the same. What's the difference? Some people find a great deal of difference. We are always finding much difference in things when there is no difference in at all. Both the primitive man and the cultivated man plead to the same power. You may call it God or Allah or Jehovah. Human beings want something and cannot get it by their own powers and are after someone who will help them. This is primitive and it is still present with us. We are all born savages and gradually civilize ourselves. All of us here, if we search, will find the same fact. Even now, this fear does not leave us. We may talk big, become philosophers and all that, but when the blow comes, we find that we must beg for help. We believe in all the superstitions that ever existed, but there is no superstition in the world that does not have some basis of truth. If I cover my face and only the tip of my nose is showing, still it is a bit of my face. So, with the superstition, the little bits are also true. You see, the lowest sort of manifestation of religion came with the barrier of the departed. First, they wrapped them up and then put them in the mound, and the spirit of the departed came and lived in the mound at night. Then they began to bury them at the gate stand of terrible goddesses with the thousand teeth. Then came the burning of the body, and flames bore the spirit up. The Egyptian brought food and water for the departed. The next great idea was that of the tribal gods. This tribe had one god, and the tribe other, and that tribe another. The Jews had their god Jehovah, who was their own tribal god and fought against all the other gods and tribes. That god would do anything to please his own people. If he killed a whole tribe for protected by him, if he killed the whole tribe, not protected by him, that was the right and quite good. A little love was given, but the love was confined to the small section. Gradually, higher ideas came. The chief of the conquering tribe was the chief of the chief, god of the gods. So, with the Persians, when they conquered Egypt, the Persian emperor was the lord of lords, and before the emperor, none could stand. Death was the penalty for anyone who looked at the Persian emperor. Then came the idea of God Almighty and all powerful, the omnipotent, omniscient ruler of the universe. He lives in heaven, and the man pays special tribute to his most beloved, who creates everything for man. The whole world is for man. The sun, the moon, the star are all for him. All who have those ideas are primitive mans and not civilized or not cultivated at all. All the superior religions that had their growth between the Ganga and the Euphrates, Ganga and Euphrates, outside of India, we will find no further development of religion beyond the idea of God in heaven. That was the highest knowledge ever obtained outside of India. There is a local heaven where He is and where the faithful shall go when they die. As far as I have seen, we should call it a very primitive idea. Mumbo jumbo in Africa and God in heaven, the same. He moves the world, and of course, His will is being done everywhere. The old Hebrews people did not care for any heaven. That is the one of the reason they opposed Jesus of Nazareth, because he thought life after heaven. Sorry, life after death. Paradise in Sanskrit means land beyond this life. So the paradise was to make up for all this evil. The primitive man does not care about evil. He never questioned why there should be any. The word devil is a Persian word. The Persians and the Hindus share the Aryan ancestry upon religious ground, and they spoke the same language. Only the words one sect used for good, the other used for bad. The word deva is an old Sanskrit word for God. The same word in the Aryan language. Here's the word means the devil. Later on, when man developed his inner life, he began to question and to say that God is good. The Persian said that there were two gods. One was bad and other one was good. Their idea was that everything in this life was good. Beautiful countries where there were springs almost whole year round and nobody died. There was no disease, everything was fine. Then came a wicked one and he touched the land, and then came death, disease, mosquitoes, tigers, lion. Then the Aryans left their fatherland and migrated southward. The old Aryans must have lived away from to the north. The Jews learned it the idea of the devils from the Persians. The Persians also thought that will come a day when the wicked god will be killed, and it is our duty to stay with the good god and add our force to him in the internal struggle between him and the wicked one. The whole world will be burnt out and everyone will get the new body. The Persian idea was that even the wicked will be purified and not be bad anymore. The nature of the Aryan was love and poetry. They cannot think of their being burnt for eternity. They will all receive new bodies, then no more death. So that is the best about religious ideas outside of India. Along with that is the ethical strain. All the man has to do is to take care of the three things: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. That is all. It is a practical, wise religion. And already there has come a little poetry in it, but there is a higher poetry and higher thought. In India, we say this Satan is in the most ancient part of the Vedas. We just appear, we just appears and immediately disappears. In Vedas, the bad god got a blow and disappeared. He is gone, and the Persian took him. We are trying to make him leave the world altogether. Taking the Persian's idea, we are going to make a decent gentleman of him, give him a new body. There was the end of Satan idea in India, but the idea of God went on. But mind you, here comes another fact. The idea of God grew side by side with the idea of materialism until you have traced it up to the emperor of the Persia. But on the other hand comes a metaphysics and psychology or philosophy. There is another line of the thoughts, the idea of the non-dual Atman, that is man own soul, that also grows. So outside of the India idea about God had to remain in the concrete form until India came to help them out of it. The other nations stopped with the old concrete idea. In this country, America, there are millions who believe in God and is has a body. Whole sects say it they believe that he rules the world, but there is a place where he has a body. He sits upon the throne. They light candles and sing songs just as they do in our temples. But in India, they are sensible enough never to make their god a physical being. You never see in India a temple of Brahma. Why? Because the idea of the soul always existed. The Hebrew race never questioned about the soul. There is no soul idea in the Testament at first. The first is in the New Testament. The Persians, they became too so practical, wonderfully practical people a fighting, conquering race. They were the English people of the old time, always fighting and destroying their neighbors, too much engaged in that sort of thing to think about the soul. The oldest idea of the soul was that of a fine body inside a gross one. The gross one disappeared and the fine one appears. In Egypt, that fine one also dies, and so on. And as soon as the gross body disintegrates, the fine one also disintegrates. That is why they built those pyramids and emblem and embalmed the dead bodies of their ancestors, thus hoping to secure more immortality for departed. The Indian people have no regards for the dead body at all. Their attitude is, let us take it and burn it. The sun has to set free. The sun has to set free by setting fire to his father's body. There are two sort of races, the divine and the demonic. The divine think that they are soul and spirit. The demonic think that they are body. The old Indian philosophers tried to insist that the body is nothing. As a man emits his old garments and takes a new one, even so the old body is shed and he takes a new one. In my case, all my surroundings and education were trying to make me the other way. I was always associated with Mohammedans and Christians who take more care of their body. It is only one step from the body to the spirit. In India, they became insistent on the idea of the soul. It became synonymous with the idea of God. If the idea of soul began to expand, men must arrive to the conclusion that it is beyond name and form. The Indian idea is that the soul is formless. Whatever is the form must break some time or another. There cannot be any form unless it is the result of force and matter, and all combination must dissolve. If such is the case, if your soul is made of name and form, it disintegrates and you die and you are no more immortal. If it is double, it has form and belongs to the nature and it obeys the nature's law of birth and death. They find that this soul is not the mind, neither a double. Thought can be guided and controlled. The yogis of India practiced to see how far the thoughts can be guided and controlled. By dint of hard work, thought may be silenced altogether. If thought were the real man, as soon as thought ceases, he ought to die. Though ceases in meditation, even the mind's element are quite. Blood circulation stops, his breath stopped, but he is not dead. If thought were he, the whole thing ought to go, but they find it does not go. That is a practical proof. They came to the conclusion that even mind and thought were not the real name, were not the real man. Then speculation showed that it could not be. I come, I think, and talk. In the midst of all, this activity is this unit of the self. My thought and action are varied, manifold, but in and through them run that one unchangeable one. It cannot be the body that is changing every minutes. It cannot be mind, new and fresh thoughts come all the time. It is neither the body nor the mind. Both body and mind belong to nature and must obey nature's rule. A free mind never wills. Now, therefore, this real man does not belong to nature. It is the person whose mind and body belongs to nature. So much of nature we are using. Just as you come to use the pen and the ink and the chair, so he uses so much of nature in fine and in gross form, the body and gross form body, the fine form and the mind. If it is simple, it must be formless. In nature alone for forms that which is not the nature cannot have any form, fine or gross. It must be formless. It must be omnipresent. Understand it. Take this glass on the table. The glass is form and the table is form. So much of the glassness goes off, so much of tableness when they break. The soul is the nameless because it is formless. It will never go to heaven nor to hell any more than it will enter this glass. It takes it takes the form of the vessel it fills. It is not the space. Either of two things is possible. Either the soul permeates space or the space is in it. You are in space and must have a form. Space limits us, binds us, and makes a form of us. If you are not in space, space is in you. All the heavens and all the worlds are in the person. So it must be with God. God is omnipresent. Without hands, He grasps everything. Without feet, He can move. He is the formless, deathless, eternal. The idea of God came. He is the Lord of souls, just as my soul is a Lord of my body. If my soul left the body would not be for the moment. If He left my soul, the soul would not exist. He is the creator of the universe and everything that dies. He is the destroyer. His shadow is death, and his shadow is life. The ancient Indian philosophers thought this filthy filthy world is not fit for man's attention. There is nothing in the universe that is permanent, neither good nor evil. I told you, Satan did not have much chance in India. Why? Because they were very bold in religion. They were not babies. Have you seen the characteristic of children? They are always trying to throw the blame on someone else. Baby minds are trying when they make the mistakes to throw the blame upon someone else. On the other hand, we say, give me this, give me that. On the other hand, we say, I did not do this, the devil tempted me. The devil did it. That is the history of the mankind, weak mankind. Why is evil? Why is the world the filthy, dirty hole? We have made it. Nobody is to blame. We must put our hands in the fire. The Lord bless you. Man gets just what he deserves. Only he is merciful. If we pray to him, he helps us. He gives himself to us. That is their idea. They are of a poetic nature. They go crazy over poetry. Their philosophy is poetry. This philosophy is a poem. All high thoughts in the Sanskrit is written in the poetry. Metaphysics, astronomy, and all in poetry. We are responsible, and how do we come to mischief? You may say, I was born poor and miserable. I remember the hard struggle all my life. Philosophers say that you are to blame. You do not mean to say that all this sprang up without any cause whatever. You are a rational being. Your life is not without causes, and you are the cause. You manufacture your own life all time. You make and mold your own life. You are responsible for yourself. Do not lay the blame upon anybody, any Satan. You will only get punished a little more. A man is brought up before God, and he says 31 strip of for you. 30, he says 31 strips for you. When comes another man, he says 30 strips, 15 for that fellow, 15 for the teacher. That awful man who taught him. That is an awful thing in teaching. I do not know what I am doing here or going to get. I go all over the world. If I have to get 15 for each one, I have thought. We have to come to this idea. This, my Maya, is divine. It is my activity, my divinity. My Maya is hard to cross, but those that take revenge in me go beyond. Go beyond Maya. But you find out that it is very difficult to cross this ocean of Maya by yourself. You cannot. It is the old question, he hen and egg. If you do not do any work, that work becomes a cause and products the effect. The effect becomes a cause and produces the effect, and so on. If you push this down, it never stops. Once you set a thing in motion, there is no more stopping. I do some work, good or bad, and it sets up a chain reaction. Cannot stop now. It is impossible for us to get out from this bondage by ourselves. It is only possible if there is someone more powerful than this law of causation, and if he takes mercy on us and drag us out. And we declare that there is such a one God, that is such a being, all merciful. If there is a God, then it is possible for me to be saved. How can you be saved by your own will? Do you see the philosophy of the doctrine of salvation by grace? You Western people are wonderfully clever, but when you undertake explain or to explain, undertake to explain philosophy, you are so wonderfully complicated. How can you save yourself by work? If by salvation you mean that you will be taken out of all the nature. Salvation means just standing up upon God. But if you understand what it is meant by salvation, then you are the self. You are not nature. You are only thing outside of soul and God and gods and nature. These are external existence, and God is interpenetrating both nature and soul. Therefore, just as my soul is to my body, we as it were are the bodies of God. God's God souls, God, souls and nature. It is one. The one because, as I say, I mean the body, soul, and mind. But we have seen the law of causation pervades every bit of nature, and once you have got, you cannot get out. When once you get into the meshes of law, a possible way of escape is not through work done by you, through work done by you. You can build hospital for every and flea, fly fly and flee that ever lived. All this you may do, but it would never lead to salvation. Hospitals go up, they come down again. Salvation is only possible if there is some being whom nature never caught, who is the ruler of nature. He rules nature instead of being ruled by nature. He wills law instead of being downed by law. He exists and he is all merciful. The moment you seek him, he will save you. Why has he not taken us out? You do not want him. You want everything but him. The moment you want him, that moment you get him. We never want him. We say, Lord, give me a fine house. We want the house, not him. Give me health. Save me from the difficulty when a man wants nothing but him. He gets him. The same love which wealthy men have for gold and silver and possessions, Lord, may I have the same love for Thy. I want neither earth nor heaven, nor beauty nor learning. I do not want salvation. Let me go to hell again and again, but the one thing I want to love Thy, and for love's sake, not even for heaven. Whatever man desires, he gets. If you always dream of having a body, you will get another body. When this body goes away, he wants another and goes on begetting the body after body. Love matter and you become matter. You first become animal. When I see a dog, gnaw, gawning a bone, gawning a bone, I say, Lord help us. Love body until you become dog and cat, still degenerate. Until you become minerals, all body and nothing else. There are other people who would have to compromise. The road to salvation is through truth. That was another watchword. Man began to progress spiritually when he kicked the devil out. He stood up and took the responsibility of the misery of the world upon his own shoulders. But whenever he looked at the past and the future and at the law of causation, he knelt down and said, Lord, save me, thou what art our nature, a creator, a father, and dearest friend. That is the poetry, but not very good poetry. I think why? It is painting of an infinite, no doubt. You have it in every language how they paint the infinite, but it is the infinite of the senses, of the muscles. Him the sun does not illumine, nor the moon, nor the star, nor the flashes of lightning. That is another painting of the infinite by the negative language, and the last infinite is painted in the spiritual of the Upanishad. Not only in the Vedanta, the highest philosophy in the world, but it is the greatest poem. Mark today, this is the difference between the first part of the Vedas and the second. In the first, it is all in the domain of sense, but all religions are only concerned with the infinite of the external world, nature and nature's God. Not so Vedanta. This is the first light that human mind throws stack of all that. No satisfaction comes of the infinite in space. The self existence or self exient one has created the senses has turned to the outer world. Those therefore we who seek outside will never find that which is within. There are few who wanting to know the truth, turn their eyes inward and in their own soul behold the glory of the self. It is not the infinite of space, but the real infinite beyond space, beyond time. Such is the world missed by the Occident. Their minds have been turned to the external nature and nature's God. Look within yourself and find the truth that you had forgotten. Is it possible for mind to come out of this dream without the help of gods? Once you start the action, there is no help unless the merciful Father takes us out. That would not be freedom, even at the hands of the merciful God. Slavery is slavery. The chain of gold is quite as bad as the chain of iron. Is there a way out? You are not bound. No one was ever bound. The self is beyond. It is the all. It is the all. You are the one. There are no two. God was your own reflection cast upon the screen of Maya. The real God is the self. He whom men ignorantly worship is that reflection. They say that the Father in heaven is God. Why God? It is because He is. Your own reflection that He is God. Do you see how you are saying God all the time? As you unfold yourself, the reflection grows clearly or clearer. Two beautiful birds are there sitting upon the same tree. The one is calm, silent, majestic. The other below is individual self, is eating the fruits, sweet, bitter, and becoming happy and sad. But when the individual self beholds the worshipful Lord as his own true self, he grieves no more. Do not say God, do not say thou, say I. The language of non dualism says, God, thou, my Father. The language of non-dualism says, "Dear up to unto me, then I am myself. I would have no name for thy. The nearest I can use is I. God is true. The universe is the dream. Bless am I that I know this moment that I have been and shall be free all eternity, that I know that I am worshipping only myself, that no nature, no delusion had any hold on me. Vanish nature from me, vanish these gods, vanish worship, vanish superstitions, for I know myself. I am the infinite. All these Mrs. So and so, Mr. So and so, responsibility, happiness, misery have vanished, and I am the infinite. How can there be death for me, or both? Whom shall I fear? I am the one. Shall I be afraid of myself? Who is to be afraid of whom? I am the one existence. Nothing else exists. I am everything. It is only the question of memory of your true nature for salvation for by work. Do you get salvation? You are already free. Go on saying, I am free. Remind Never mind if the next moment delusion comes and say, I am bound. Dehypnotize, dehypnotize the whole thing. This truth is the first to be heard. Hear it first. Think on it day and night. Fill the mind with it day and night. I am it. I am the Lord of the universe. Never was there any delusion. Meditate upon it with all the strength of the mind till you actually see these walls, houses, everything melt away until body, everything vanish. I will stand alone. I am the one. Struggle on. Who cares? We want to be free. We do not want any powers. Worlds we renounce. Heaven we renounce. Hells we renounce. What do I care about all these powers and this and that? What do I care if the mind is controlled or uncontrolled? Let it run on. What of that? I am not the mind. Let it go on. The sun shines on the just and not and on the unjust. The sun shines on the just and on the unjust. Is he touched by the defective character of anyone? I am he. Whatever my mind does, I am not touched. The sun is not touched by shining off on filthy places. I am existent. I am existence. This is the region. This is a religion of non-dual philosophy. It is difficult. Struggle on. Down with all superstitions. Neither teacher nor scriptures nor gods exist. Down with the temples, with priests, with gods, with incarnations, with God Himself. I am all God that ever existed. There stands up philosophers, no fear, no fear, speak no more of God and the superstitions of the world. Truth alone trumps, and this is true. I am infinite. All religious superstitions are vain imaginations. This society that I see you before me and that I am talking to you, this is all superstitions. All must be given up. Just see what it takes to become philosopher. This is the path of Jnana Yoga, the way through knowledge. The other path are easy, slow, but this is pure strength of mind. No weakling can follow this path of knowledge. You must be able to say, I am the soul, the ever free, never was bound. Time is in me, not I in time. God was born in my mind. God the Father, Father of the universe, He is created by me in my own mind. Do you call yourself philosophers? Show it. Think of this, talk of this, and help each other in this path and give up all the superstitions.